Right, so we're at a kind of critical point here now. We've got most of the pieces and things off of the sprues, just a little bit of kind of tidying up and things to do. What we're left with are kind of like mission critical pieces or mission critical points. There's 3 in this kit that I've kind of seen. These are points where if you make a mistake it's going to cost you. Now these look like they might come off quite easily, however if you look, specifically this one is attached to the front just by that kind of seam, and it looks like it's attached really well. It's going to be very difficult to kind of snip that off or cut it off without damaging that. The lucky part is I think this is the base or the rear of the tank, so it's not going to be too bad if you do mess it up. The other 2 pieces is of course the tracks. This piece isn't going to be too bad. Probably going to saw that off first, off from the vent, and then at the edge closer to the model. This looks like it can be clipped off and it's not going to give you too many problems. So what I'm going to do is just see if I can take this off first. And it looks like that came off without too much of an issue. Just a bit of tidying up, bit of sanding and things on the track. This part is going to be a bit more of a problem though. Let's see. So as you can see, this part didn't come off nearly as well as the other part. This was just too strongly attached on, and although that's got absolutely no detail on it at all, this little piece here, it would have been vital to keep that on to kind of keep the shape of the track there. That's going to be quite costly. So as you can see, we had a little bit of a mishap on both of those sides. Absolutely terrible. They should put the gates on the sides there or on the inside of the model, not connected to the outside. Yeah, so that's going to need a fair bit of routing out and repair work for that. So all the gates and the vents and things like that are clipped off, sawed off, you name it, off of all the parts. What I like to do at this point with most of the smaller kind of models is kind of do like a dry fit as far as I can. No blue tack or anything, just a dry fit of all the pieces. Kind of decide on the pose or you know what items I need to use. I'm going for the las cannons just to give me that extra bit of anti-tank weaponry. I've got the accelerator auto cannons on there. So the next step really is I'm going to go ahead with my knife, with my scraping tool and with my files to just tidy up all of these pieces. If I have to use green stuff, I'll use green stuff, and just tidy up everything so it's all ready to then glue using a mixture of my thick and thin super glues. So join me in the next part where you'll see all of these pieces looking their best, ready for me to glue. So I just thought I'd start the video from here because pretty much all of the parts and things are all prepared and I've come a long way really. What I've done is I've done the engine block or the exhaust and things, so that's all done, ready. Remember there was some damage that I caused on the vents caused on the actual frame. I put some green stuff on, filed it down. It's going to look a lot better. Again, there were some air bubbles and things on the las cannons. Don't know if you can see them. Put green stuff in, filed them down. Going to look great. Some green stuff in the sponsons, and I think that was it. I have completed this part of the tank. Put the heavy bolter in. It moves. Job's good. And I've also done the main turret too. It's extremely difficult to get this kind of straight without, you know, parallel and all the rest of it, so I do tip my hat to any modelers that have done this and have built 2 or 3 or whatever. It's quite complex. More to the point is because on the left side, part of the ammo feed for the drum, because both the drums are exactly the same, you can swap them around if you wished, but it's got one of these bolts, and that bolt stops the autocannon from moving the whole cannon moving inwards a little bit, whereas this has pretty much got free reign because it's got more space that side. So to get them both parallel and then to get the barrels straight as well. At the start of the video you probably saw that one of the barrels, I think it was this one maybe, was a bit of a wonk, but again, best advice, just use a hairdryer, a few seconds, and then you can just wiggle it into place and then it'll set and it'll stay like that. All the parts are essentially done. I've decided I'm not going to magnetise the sponsons, I'm going to glue them in, but I'm going to make sure that they move in place. The spare bits left with this model is just the heavy bolters, but I'm sure I'll find a use for them at some point. So join me in the final part of this video where the SIcaran will be completely built. And here we have the finished Space Marine Legion SIcaran Battle Tank. God, that's a mouthful, isn't it? I've now glued the whole thing. I've managed to keep as many movable parts movable as possible. It's a lovely kit to put together. It can get a little bit tricky towards the end because sometimes the pieces don't match quite well. You can see a bit of a gap on that side and a small gap on that side, but with painting and shadowing, things like that, it should be okay. But you've got the heavy bolter that moves. Obviously you've got the top turret. The guns don't go up and down. You could, if you're incredible, put a rod inside and glue both ends, and then you are my hero, because then you could probably move the guns up and down. However, its current elevation is as high as you really want it, because the higher the angle of trajectory means that these bolts and things start to rub against the back, specifically this little knob here. So there you go. It's up to you whether you want to do that or not, but I haven't, and it's fine, and he moves and you compose him and whatever. Another thing that I'd like to say is the sponsons. I thought I would glue them in place, but after a couple of hours of fooling around with them, playing with me magnets, what I've done is, look at this. They're stiff, they move side to side, up and down, and just like that. So they're magnetised too. Without the holder for the turret, unfortunately you won't be able to use the heavy bolters unless you made, unless you glued these to your own makeshift one and then magnetised it, which is perfectly possible. But if you plan on getting a second one, and I would strongly suggest you get the second one because these tanks are absolutely lovely, then you could make the heavy bolters and then swap them around and whatever. But there you go. So you can't really use the heavy bolter aspect to them, but it's good for transporting is the main reason I did it. And also if you don't put the magnets in and you just glue it the way they say, you'll be able to move the weapon from side to side, but you probably will not be able to move it up or down because of just how loose it is on there. If you move the tank or anything, it probably just drop and the turret would be very placid. It'll just drop like that and you'll have difficulty keeping it up. So there you go, that's the turret magnetised. I used, I think they're 10mm magnets, quite a strong pull as well I used. And the one on the right side is exactly the same kind of stiffness. So I'm very happy with this model, the way it's come out. It's a great kind of beginner kit, I suppose, from Forge World. I mean, another beginner kit would probably be a Contemptor. So this is, if you've never had a Forge World model before, this is probably a great kit to start off with. The turrets, the sponsons can be slightly tricky to pull off and to get right. However, if you've never used magnets before, it might be a good opportunity to get some experience in magnetisation. The only kind of downsides of the model, these big chunks here, where the vents were attached to, but you can snap them off, cut them, shave them, file them down, and smooth them as well, so you would never tell. And also where they were connected with the vents there. This one, not too bad. I managed to use a cylindrical a file to just smooth that off, but this one I had to file 2 grooves in, but once it's painted you're not really going to notice, and it is on the bottom of the vehicle. Another thing I must say is obviously the part at the start which I clipped off, a bit of green stuff, you're not going to see that either. So the parts that are kind of weak in this you're not going to see, and they're not, you know, you can kind of get away with them. Join me for the next part where I will spray the vehicle and start painting it and show you all the different techniques and things I use. So I hope you join me for the next part of the video. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.